The PlayStation 4 is one of the biggest and the most diverse gaming libraries of any system of all time. Literally thousands of games found their way onto the system, and they're still going strong. But with that also comes lesser known, smaller print, niche type games that can sometimes end up being a decent amount of money. I'm your host as always, K-Mac Time, and today I want to take a closer look at 10 more rare and valuable PS4 physical games. Now, keep in mind, most of these are available for much less on the PlayStation Store, but today we are strictly talking about physical games that collectors like myself keep an eye out for. And yes, most of today's list will feature games from limited run and other small batch game makers, but there are also a few full releases here, so stick around for those, and they're pretty much harder to find. But anyway, let's jump right in with number 10, Undertale. This is easily one of the best indie games of all time. Undertale was a smash hit among RPG and indie game fans and sold millions and millions of digital copies. But unfortunately for collectors like myself, there was no physical version ever brought to store shelves. Luckily though, a small website and publisher called Fangamer has brought this gem of a game onto disc form, and they are still available for purchase as they have made an undisclosed small number of copies. But as of now, they are not gone, so I recommend you get out there and get yourself a copy before they sell out and prices end up skyrocketing. Next up is another indie gem game that is extremely small print from limited run games. Firewatch is one of the more sought after of the limited run games due to it getting only 7,000 copies printed, and because it's such a great game that the demand for it is a little higher than other limited run games. I was one of the many fans who missed out on getting a copy without having to pay aftermarket markup prices, and that really sucks. But to get your hands on a physical copy of the game today, you'll have to try your hand at eBay when a copy pops up every now and then, and they usually go for around $70 to $80.
Just a second, now it's my turn.
Okay, good night, bye.
Let's see. I don't know anything about you.
Another game I was actually able to buy before it went out of stock was Hyper Light Drifter, which was distributed by the website I Am 8-Bit, which is a lot like Fangamer in that they're a video game merchandise distributor turned video game distributor themselves with a handful of releases under their belt. Anyway, they just released 9,000 copies of the game, and again, it's one of those better indie titles out there, making it very sought after by collectors. And if you're looking to pick up a copy of this today, the aftermarket prices will set you back nearly $80 to $85. Really unfortunate, but I'm glad I got my copy. Another pretty interesting way that game devs have decided to get their games in the hands of fans is via Kickstarter. Now, when a small indie dev kickstarts a game, fans back it with pledges and in return get access to that game when it's released. But some game devs have gone even further, making a certain higher donation level of backers, they get access to extremely limited print physical copies of the game. This is exactly what happened with Battle Princess Madeline, which is getting both a limited run release and an alternate cover strictly for the Kickstarters. The Kickstarter release is limited to just 1,000 copies of that specific cover and will for sure be very collectible in the future. Believe it or not, some of the rarest PS4 physical games come from Spain of all places. Games like the extremely rare Totoro that I discussed in the first rare PS4 games video I made, which if you haven't seen already, go check it out, shameless plug. But anyway, back in Spain, one of the biggest retailers is simply known as Game, gives small indie devs a chance to get their games to market and sells them exclusively at their stores and in their online store in Spain. They have a handful of titles, but one that is pretty hard to find is called Dog Child. If you can track down a copy of a physical release, like a copy of it somehow, make sure to snag it, as it will undoubtedly become a rare game down the road once they go out of print. Another small niche indie game publisher is PlayAsia, who is much like limited run games. They scoop up the rights to smaller, semi-popular indie titles and release them in very limited small batches of physical copies. Typically with a full big box release, which is full of collectible goodies like soundtracks, full color art books, manuals, and other little trinkets. And this is why I love these PlayAsia releases so much and why they are so highly sought after by collectors. One of their better releases, however, is Ghostblade HD, which was actually originally a homebrew game for the Dreamcast of all things. But fans of the shooter loved it so much that the devs decided to make a 3,000 print run copy of it via PlayAsia. I was actually lucky enough to get my hands on a copy, and it is without a doubt one of my favorite shooters on the system, and it drives a decently high price tag these days on the secondary market. Number 4 on this list may shock you because it's actually by far one of the most popular games on the PS4 and in the world in general, and that is of course Fortnite. And you may be thinking, well, K-Mac, Fortnite is free. And yes, that is true, but before the Battle Royale mode was released, Fortnite was actually a co-op survival game with its Save the World mode, which you know is not that popular, but you can purchase it digitally. But there actually was an actual physical disc sold, but it sold extremely poorly. This is before the game even took off and before anyone even knew it had a Battle Royale mode. I don't know that was out yet, and the game just went over like a lead balloon. And it was pretty much just pulled from store shelves. Now, with the resurgence of the game, they do sell it in stores again, but there's actually no disc in the case. Instead, it's just a download code you get, which makes the first print run copies extremely rare and very sought after, especially with this popularity of this game right now. Copies of it are selling for over $100 on eBay pretty regularly now, so it's pretty insane. So if you see a copy of it, make sure to snag it.
Oh, nice! Yes! Fuck yeah!
Next up is another oddity, and that is the PSVR exclusive called Job Simulator. Now, this was basically a budget title for the system that was sold for around $30 new in GameStop and other retailers. But seemingly overnight, the game was pulled out of print and the majority of the copies were sold off at discount prices, only to have the game see a major spike in demand after PS4 VR helmets price dropped, making the game more accessible to more players. The game sells regularly for over $80 these days, so if you see a copy, be sure to snag it as it's just going to keep going up. Yet another small print run game publisher recently dipped their toe into the PS4 market. A company called Strictly Limited Games made only 999 physical copies of the game called Gryphon Night Epic, which is a pretty cool little indie game, which is a 2D medieval shoot-'em-up style. It mixes elements from classical shoot-'em-ups and exploration and has big boss battles. Anyway, the game is very fun and collectors were dying to get their hands on the limited number of copies. Unfortunately for me and many others, we were unable to get a copy on release, and now we have to try our hand at eBay or trade shows when one comes up, but it's not very often, and they demand a pretty damn high price, which kind of sucks for us. Hopefully I'll get a copy someday. And finally, the number 1 rarest PS4 game on today's list is one that I had never heard of, but it's called The Lost Bear, and literally only has 13 physical copies of the game that were ever made by the publisher, and they were actually given out to random contest winners at a 2017 gaming convention. However, it didn't include a working disc of the game. The disc in the case is just for show, and the game is not actually on it. Instead, they also give an download code for the full game in there. So technically, it's a physical game because the disc does exist, and it was an actual case. Whether or not it's an actual game, it's up to you to decide. I don't know. But anyway, like I said, there's only 13 legit copies out there that exist of this, making it without a doubt the smallest and rarest printed PS4 game of all time, at least to date. Now, whether or not you want to consider it to be a game because it's not actually on the disc, it's up to you. But just saying, it's a pretty cool collector's piece, and without a doubt, this was going to demand a major price somewhere down the line, as collectors will be probably drooling over their chances to get their hands on it. But anyway, guys, there you guys have it. 10 rare and expensive PS4 games. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any of these games in your collection, or are you looking to buy any of these games? Do you have any of these games? Or also, do you guys like these small print run games? Do you guys like limited run games and these companies doing this? You think it's artificially making demand higher? Do you like that they give collectors like us a chance to buy these games? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about this in the comments down below. Like I said before, also, make sure you guys smash that like button, share this video, and check out my previous PS4 rare games video if you want to be subscribed. Check those out as well. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for today. Until next time, remember that it's always KMac time somewhere. Until then, take it easy and peace out.